All right, we're live. Smart Money community, how are you doing today? It's been a couple weeks. Excited to be back here. Took some summer vacation, kind of, sort of, maybe, and just took a couple weeks off from posting. But hey, we're back here and back with a really exciting topic here. We're going to be talking about the cost. Not just the cost, but the real cost of staying in debt. And I know a lot of you have had, there's been a lot of posts, there's been a lot of questions around this, there's been a lot of people wanting to know more about investing and what that looks like. And so we're going to show you all that today, the real cost, what it's really costing to stay in debt, but then how to take that money and start to use that for yourself to build wealth. Because this day and age, like, you know, it's funny because most people talk about like this day and age, the American dream's gone. The American dream has disappeared. The middle class is disappearing, and the opportunity to build wealth is just, well, it's not there anymore. And Jen, I tell people all the time, you can become a millionaire. It is not hard. In fact, it may not, you know, I'm going to go out and say in the next 10 years or so, it's going to be a necessity if you want to maintain your quality of living in the next 40 years. If you want to have a life in retirement, if you want to be able to live your best years, which in my opinion, retirement should be your best years, but the years leading up to it should be pretty kick-ass too. Like the years leading up to retirement should be pretty awesome too, but retirement should be the years that you like just live the life you've always dreamed of living, if not before that. But most people's retirement is like they settle for less. For most people, 60% of your income is going to be reduced. As soon as you hit retirement, you're going to lose not 60%, you're going to have 60% of your income. So you're going to have, 60 to 65% of your income to live on. For most people, statistically speaking, they're hitting retirement and they're still in debt. And they've spent their whole life battling debt, paying it off, racking it up, paying it off, racking it up over time. And what happens is the real cost of staying stuck is what we want to talk about today and what we want to show people today. And in some cases, it's, Jen, millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
If not six figures. All right, we just lost Jen. Or maybe we lost myself. I'm not sure here. But yeah, the cost of staying in debt for the majority of people is going to be six figures. Are you back? All right.
Am I? I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you now. I think you're back. So, I was saying, awesome. There we go. The cost for most people, six figures, for some people, even millions of dollars to stay in debt. And I think you're back, Jen. I think I can hear you again now. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Good to have you here. Good to have you here. But let's dive in here. Let's talk about this because, just Google debt. And every article out there is going to say something about how it's getting worse and it's not getting better. There was a recent article on debt.org that talked about Americans are drowning in debt. Even before the recession, which I'm assuming they're going to call, I'm assuming they're going to call this whole COVID stuff a recession, is what I'm assuming. So they talk about before the recession, we were merely treading water in what they call dangerous seas. I like their analogy there. I like the visual they're giving us here. Americans were treading water in dangerous seas. But once the economy turned ugly, jobs went away, nest eggs cracked, and those with the most debt sunk. Many people were forced into bankruptcies, insolvencies, and all those other silver bullet solutions that we call them silver bullet solutions. And it's funny because, there's no doubt a lot of that's happening. But in our community, a lot of people in our community have been succeeding. There's been a lot of success in our community, a lot of success with the coaching clients we've been working with here that during COVID have done really well. And so we've got to see both sides of the story here. Obviously, this is something that is happening for a lot of Americans and even Canadians as well here. A lot of that's been happening. We've been able to see the other side where, I think part of it is once you get focused on what you want, once you get intentional about what you desire to live and want to be, COVID, 2008, Y2K, the next thing that's going to happen doesn't get in your way and doesn't stop you. It may throw a little wrench in your plan, but it doesn't stop you. or paralyze you anymore. Like most people have been paralyzed here. And so, as we've been reading here, a lot of people are in trouble. Here's another article recently from CBC. Household debt ratio rises to 176.9%, according to Statistics Canada. And here's what it says. Key measure of household debt rose the first quarter as COVID-19 pandemic began to take hold of the economy, says Statistics Canada. They said this a couple of weeks ago. The agency reported household credit market debt as a portion of the household disposable income, aka your debt to income ratio, rose to 176.9%, so essentially 177%, and it was roughly about 175 less than a year ago, is what it's risen here. So in other words, there's basically $1.77 in credit debt for every dollar of household disposable income, aka
That's
people
crazy.
are borrowing more than they make.
Yeah, and it's been on that same rise since the early 90s. When you look at the chart in this article, it's on a staggering incline. Like it's staggering. It was about probably 1995, where it was kind of hitting the, every dollar that came in was being spent.
Yeah.
But for the past, 25 years, we just keep spending and spending and spending. And that's what's putting us in this really, really precarious situation.
Yeah. And when I started teaching this stuff, I remember my first presentation, which wasn't that long ago. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was $1. I believe it was $1.50 or $1.48 or something like that.
Yeah.
Is what when I started teaching this stuff and sharing the stats. That's what the stats were, about $1.48, $49, $1.50 for every dollar. We've gone up huge in the last 5 years. I mean, in the last 5 years, we've seen that in America, the household debt has risen from 12 trillion to $14 trillion. And so translation for everyone out there, and a trillion is a big number, essentially 3% year over year, people are going further and further and further into debt. And so think about this. The average person right now, they say roughly about $30,000 in consumer debt. That's not a mortgage. That's credit cards. Maybe there's a car loan in there. Maybe a student loan in there. And it's rising by 3% a year. You're rising about almost $1,000 year over year in debt. 900 to be exact, if you're at that $30,000 mark. But let's be honest, there's lots of people who have a lot more debt, 60,000, 100,000. I talked to someone the other day that had $700,000 in consumer debt. That wasn't a house. $700,000 on credit cards, car loans, lines of credits, and all that other fun stuff.
If that doesn't keep you up, I don't know what does.
No, exactly. Yeah, that doesn't keep you crying, right?
There's not a lot of peace in that household.
No, in that case, that's another $21,000 year over year. Statistically speaking, that they're going further into debt.
Yeah.
And so, to say that there's a debt crisis would be an understatement. And to say that people aren't struggling would be an understatement. Right now, we said America's 14 trillion in consumer debt across all Americans, about 335 million, I believe, roughly. Canadians, for those of you that are in the group that are Canadians, you're only at $2.3 trillion for all the Canadians. Now, think about this. How many people live in Canada right now? Are we 35 million roughly? 33 million roughly? Roughly around there, somewhere in the mid 30s, around there, 33 million, 35 million, something like that. Think about this. That's a tenth of the American economy. They have 335 million, we've got 35 million, that's a tenth. If we were just to mathematically put us on par with America, and 10x that 2.3 trillion, we would be closer to $23 trillion in consumer debt. Canadians, you are in trouble.
Canada, we're misbehaving. We're
misbehaving bad. And part of the reason for this is debt has been so easy to borrow. The interest rates have been so low for so long. Like, since I've been an adult, I've never seen interest rates higher than 3.5%. I've never seen a mortgage higher than 3%. In the U.S., I've seen it roughly about 4%. That's a bit of a different system down there than in Canada. Roughly about 4%. In the U.S., 4.2%. So anyone in my generation has never lived in a high interest environment. Remember our parents?
Oh yeah. My parents had a mortgage at like 18%.
Yeah. 18%. Who could afford a house at 18% these days?
Right? That's like putting your house on your credit card and then paying it off.
Hey, I know someone that did that once. They put their down payment for their house on their credit card.
Oh boy, that's another conversation.
Yeah, for another day. But it's like whatever stat you look at, whatever research you look at, they all might be different a little bit in their numbers, but they all say the same thing. We're going further and further into debt. And it's costing Americans, it's costing Canadians, again, in my opinion, we're going to show you this in a sec here, potentially 6 figures, if not 7 figures. Because we'll play this game for years and years again. And here's the thing, nobody, Jen, I don't know anybody that gets a credit card and says, I'm going to go $20,000 into debt today. Woo, let's celebrate. Drinks are on me, baby. Drinks are on me. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. But yet, North Americans average $30,000 in consumer debt.
Yeah. We're doing it and we're not thinking about it.
We're not thinking about it. Is it possible we don't have a plan?
It's very possible.
It's probable. Not only is it possible, it's probable. But is it possible that we don't have a plan and we don't have a vision for that future of what we really desire to be?
Yeah, absolutely. We're stuck a lot as a culture and a society in what is immediate, right? That, you can buy it now, you can pay it later, and the payments are easy. And, why wait till later when you can have it now? And so many things, we're so easy on transactions, even tapping it, right? Like you can tap a transaction. And
I love my phone. Zing, zing.
Right? But we don't have that same connection. We don't have that same pain point as if we're giving away cash, right? And so there's a big disconnect too in even just how we interact with money and cash. It's so out of sight now with our digital age that we can get trapped so quickly. Yeah. And we're not connecting it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there was another article that came out here that said 40% of Canadians believe they will never become or achieve debt freedom. This is an article released at earlier this year, I believe, and it said many Canadians have resigned to never getting out of debt. 2/3 assume everybody is struggling with debt. This came out December 2019, so not too long ago, about 6-7 months ago. And here's what it said. With household debt on the rise, many Canadians are convinced they will be in the red for life. A recent poll conducted by the Manulife Bank of Canada found that 45% of Canadians report to spending more than they earn. Well, we know that. That's nothing new there. And about 40% doubt they will ever become or achieve debt freedom. While almost half of Canadians fear being indebted for life, 67%, so 70% assume everybody is in the same situation. I'm not.
Me neither.
You're not.
No.
Is it possible to be debt-free?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Lots of people who are there.
Yeah.
Lots of people are debt-free.
Whether you're 30,000, 60,000, 100,000, 200,000, 400, or even 700,000, like that couple we talked to a couple weeks ago. There's no reason why, if you get focused, if you get intentional, and you start to work a real plan, that you can't be debt-free.
Yeah.
The only people that want you in debt are the banks. I mean, they're making a killing off of this. They are killing it in their numbers. Actually, I did some more research on this morning. Let's see here. TD Bank. I got a list of their profits over the last 3 years, 2017, 2018, 2019, nothing for 2020 yet. So Toronto Dominion Bank annual revenue for 2017 was $34.5 billion. 11%, hey, they didn't do too bad. 11.78% increase from 2016. Okay, 2017, $41.2 billion. 19.32 increase from 2017. And then 2019 was $44.49 billion is what they made in revenue.
Yeah. They made that revenue because we're not paying attention, or we're not making great decisions, and we're operating without a plan.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's not all your fault.
No.
It's not all your fault. Listen, there's a ton of, when it comes to debt, debt is the most marketed product in our culture. It's marketed sexy. It's marketed cool. It's marketed as easy. Let's just stop there for a sec. Anytime someone tells you it's easy, run the other way. It is not easy. And that's part of the problem. I think people think getting out of debt is easy. It's like, it's almost like flipping a switch. It's like, I'm just gonna eat potato chips. Yeah, I can stop eating potato chips, when I really want to. When I want to get fit, when I really want to get fit, I can do it. But then when we actually start to make progress towards doing it, we start to realize how hard it actually is. You got habits, behaviors, limiting beliefs, you got lifestyle, you've got conditions. You've been conditioned from childhood. I mean, my kids were playing at someone's house the other day, and guess what they had? They had the Barbie with the Visa. The cash register swipe the Visa, they had, so we're being conditioned from kids that swiping's okay. We wonder why we get into our 20s and our 30s and our 40s, and in some cases in our 50s and even our 60s, and we're stuck. It's because you've had all these years to be conditioned that debt is just normal. Car payments are just normal. It's a way of life. Oh, I could use my house as a bank machine. I'll just roll it all into my house. 5 years later, we've racked up a bunch of debt again. It's because it's just normal. And people are staying stuck. In fact, there was an article that came out of CNBC as well, and they found here's some interesting stats according to what they found. Let's see here. They found Americans have roughly about $30,000 in debt. I mean, and many say they'll be paying it off forever. So they're about $30,000, and many say they'll be paying it off forever. But here they actually had a pie chart, and I love this. So 40% of Americans believe it's going to take them 5 years to become debt free. 12% of Americans don't know. 15% say they're going to be in debt for the rest of their lives. 12% say 11 to 20 years, and 21% say 6 to 10 years to pay off their debt. And so I say this, if you have a plan, if your plan isn't to have you debt free in 24 months, it's time for a new plan. Because I would say 99% of people could be debt free in 24 months. Am I wrong, Jen? Am I off my rocker here?
No, I think that can be done. That can be done. Some people might be able to do it a little bit shorter. Some people it might take a little bit longer depending on their circumstance. But I'd be willing to bet that most people could get their debt paid off in 24 months. I mean, for the people in this chart, that's like, right?
Yeah, it's mind blowing. No one on that chart said they could do it in 2 years. Everyone minimum was 5 years, if not the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And as you were saying those statistics and the amount of time, I started feeling like they must be very hopeless, right? That's a lot of hopeless people.
Yeah.
And that's not cool.
Yeah. And we're going to share a bit of our way in a sec here. And I believe in our way for the majority of people, easy, they can double the amount of time it's going to take them to pay off debt. They can double it and get it down faster doing it our way. If not, most people could do it in 24 months or less, regardless of where you are, regardless of what you have. Because here's the thing, you only know what you know.
Yeah.
Your experiences in life are exactly that, your experiences. You don't know, it took me 24 months to pay off almost $80,000, making an average income. And so, and another 12 months after that to save a $30,000 emergency fund. I wasn't making six figures at the time. I just knew how to do it. I figured it out and went out and dialed it in. Yeah. It's almost like a system, a proven system, like you got the variables all laid out and it's like, you just got to push play and then the variables just start working. It's just like that. Where most people, what happens is they just end up staying stuck for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Well, because it takes such intention and discipline, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of discipline, and who in their life likes discipline?
Yeah.
Nobody, right?
Nobody.
Like nobody likes discipline, but it's what it takes. And it's so easy to walk into debt, but it is a battle to get out.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible to fight your way through, with that intensity and determination and discipline, putting that in our life. And, you be disciplined for a while on that end where you're fighting the bad, then you get to be disciplined in building the good. And I know you want to show us what that looks like.
This is our investment calculator. This is what we use to help people decide how much they're going to need for retirement, how to get to retirement, how much they're going to have to put aside. And Jen, you and I have talked about, we're going to play around today and show people what it's costing them to stay in debt.
All right. Well, this is where it gets fun, guys. So when you're looking at, and I'll try to remember those numbers that you just said, when you were looking at how much we owe and where that money is going, you know, what that could turn into over time if we were investing it. Chris Hogan has a great slogan that he says, interest paid is a penalty and interest earned is a reward. And it seems so simple when he says it that way. And I mean, Chris is full of those great little, you know, simple nuggets there, but it's so true. We're paying all this interest. What is it actually costing us? So let's take a look and let's see. You know, current age, let's go with 35. Age you plan to retire, let's make it 65. So that's 30 years. Let's say there's nothing saved for retirement so far. Contributing monthly. What was he saying? $600 was the payment thing he was talking about at 20%. This is how much you're actually missing out on, and how much it could be, because we're paying, you know, in this theoretical thing, we're paying this to a bank. That's over $13 million. $13 million that we could potentially have growing for us, you know, rather than us paying it. This is really the cost of that. Now, are we going to get 20% in the market? Probably not. So let's maybe shift some of these numbers around. We were talking with somebody the other day who was paying about $2,400 a month in consumer debt payments only. And let's take this down to, let's make it more like 12%, which is possible to get that in the market. Let's keep our numbers the same and say that we were just starting today. What is this costing and what could it be? That's 8 million. 8 million if that money was being invested instead of going out in the form of payments. What if we were to tighten the age, right? Like, this is so fun, guys. So fun to play around with this site because you get a real picture. So if it was, you know, 40, if that was a weird number, if you're 45 years old, planning to retire at 65, you know, and you were to start contributing, you know, let's just bring it down a little bit and see what that looks like. And let's see at 10% maybe. See what that has the potential to grow to. That's still over $1 million by $1,500 a month, which is probably the average mortgage. Rent, that's probably even on the low end of rent. Been talking to some people lately about, you know, the cost of renting. So what's going out in mortgage payments and rent invested for 20 years could be over $1 million. That is so exciting. Now, if that right there doesn't show you why it's important for us to get rid of that mortgage and get rid of that consumer debt, I don't know what else is going to light a fire under us, because seriously, we have such potential to grow and have this working for us. But instead, as a society, as North Americans, we're paying so much out in the form of debt. And so if we can get rid of it, get rid of that debt, the consumer debt, get that emergency fund built so that when life happens, and I promise you, life will happen, it is going to come up and it is going to kick you in the pants, and it's going to take your money because your washing machine is going to blow up, or, you know, something's going to happen, kid's going to fall and break their leg, and, you know, you got to pay some medical bills there. It's going to happen. And so we have to have that cushion so that we can stay out of debt and then start building some wealth, get that mortgage paid off and start building wealth, right? Like, our dream isn't to just retire and sit, right? Like, we have these bigger dreams. And what can you do when you have this money working for you instead of working against you? Building up that what was that number? $13 billion that TD Bank had made. They made it because we're paying them, where we could be earning it ourselves, and that, you know, just regularly over time by investing it and growing it and staying allergic to debt. I mean, we have the potential to change not only our lives, but the lives of others too. Because how much good stuff can we do with $1 million, right? I mean, that's not just for us. That's for us to be able to bless others with too. And in that, there's more blessing. Welcome back, Mike.
Great to be back, guys. So sorry about that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
We were playing with numbers.
Well, so I'm just looking here. 45 from age 45 to 65, $1,500 a month at 10%. You're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Most people pay that much in debt a month. Most people, you know, when you look at a card payment, multiple credit cards, lines of credit, that type of stuff, that's average. That's normal.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon to see people put that much money towards debt. Usually it's a minimum amount too. Usually it's like that's their minimum payments. It's not even taking care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. For a lot of people, it's closer to 3 if they were going to be, you know, $2,500, $3,000 to be, you know, making a difference.
Yeah.
There goes a kid. It's real life too.
Raw and uncut, baby. Did you show them that number? Did you show 3,000? Did you do this at 3,000 already?
So I only remember 2 of the numbers that you told me. So
Okay.
Take control back.
Okay. So check this out. So I was talking to someone the other day here. Actually, no, I've had this conversation probably 3 or 4 times in the last week, where we were on the phone with someone and they had upwards of $100,000, in some cases 2, in another case $400,000 in consumer debt. And it was like they were putting, in this one case that we're talking about here, they were 35. Mid-30s, and they were paying $3,000 a month towards that $200,000 bill. And you know, if we just do, we didn't break down all the interest they're paying, but let's just say we averaged it out. They had credit card 19, 24%. They had lines of credits and different stuff like that. So if we just average it out at, you know, 12%, it's about $24,000 a year in minimum payments, or $2,000 a month. Just in interest. That doesn't include any principal being paid off. And so they were doing $3,000 a month, so they're putting $1,000 towards the principal, essentially. So about $12,000 a year is what was going towards that $200,000. So, you know, if I just do some simple math here, it was going to take them, let's see here, I believe, let's try this again. Somewhere around 13 years, just give me a second, divided by $12,000, 166 months, it would take them 14 years. So that would bring them, you know, let's do some math there, 45 to about 48. Hopefully my math is right here. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Now 10% is great. I believe we could do 12% long term. It was going to cost almost $750,000 at 12%. To solve this problem.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But the sad fact is most people don't solve the problem like that. They continue to stay in it.
Yeah.
And they'll continue to stay in it for a lot longer than that, because that's the mathematics behind it. And that makes sense. Most people mathematically don't do it that way, because habits, behaviors, lifestyles, Murphy shows up and kicks you in the teeth 20 times. And all of a sudden, you can't put $3,000. You can only put the minimum payments, you know, or the car breaks down, or you got to get a new car. Like, all this stuff in life happens, right? And so for most people, even though mathematically it's like, oh yeah, mathematically we can do this, it doesn't usually end up happening that way. And so what we found over, you know, here's her lifetime, her working lifetime, or their working lifetime, $7 million.
Wow.
To stay in this debt. This is what it's costing them, you know, to stay in debt. And for everyone out there that has kids, you know, we were talking to someone in the group yesterday who was like, she's rocking it. Her kid's rocking it. They've paid, I believe from what I read, they cash flowed their kid's school for the year. Their kid's doing a budget. And it's like, you know, the kid has money in the account. I'm going to assume the kid's probably 17 or 18 years old. What happens when she does this? But yet she doesn't have to do $2,000 a month. What if she just did $150 a month from age 18 to 65 at 12%? Multi-millionaire. $150 a month. Come on, right? That's like coffees. That's like $5. You know, quitting $5 every day instead of getting 2 coffees there, get 1.
Yeah, and get it once a week on Thursdays and treat a friend.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and it's like, it's that easy to do this.
Yeah.
It's that easy to become a millionaire. But here's what's funny. Let's just say she does what everyone else does. She gets caught up in student loans. She gets caught up in car payments, and she doesn't figure this stuff out. And it's like she turns 40, you know, she turns 40 years old and says, oh my gosh, I've got to figure out life. Becomes debt free and starts to put $150 away. Do you think she's going to have $4 million?
No.
Do you think she's going to have $2 million?
No.
Do you think she's even going to have $1 million?
No.
You're right. $281,000.
Yeah.
Because she took the conventional advice that everyone tells you to do: get debt payments, get a credit card. You got to use your credit card responsibly. Without a credit card, I can't get a car loan. Without a credit card, I can't get a home. All that stuff is BS. All that stuff, again, we talk about the industry, TD, we talk about, in our modules, I talk about American Express because, it's one thing people will argue, say, well, TD does banking and TD offers this and that. And so that's how they make their money. Trust me, they make most of the money off credit cards. Anyone that can make 18%, anyone that can charge you 18% is making a buttload of money. Again, go back to this example. 18 years old, 18 to 65, if she was to get an 18% return, $44 million.
Yeah.
Like, don't argue with me that these guys aren't making off the interest. They're making it off the interest. Maybe they got a couple other things. But American Express is only a credit card company. They don't sell mortgages. They don't have bank accounts. They don't give you car loans. Strictly 18, 19, 24, 29% credit cards is how they make their money. They are a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar profit. We teach that in one of the modules. Multi-billions of dollars of profit year over year over year just on credit cards. And so conventional wisdom says, go get a credit card. I need to build a credit score. Well, guess what happens? Like we said in the beginning, no one gets a credit card and says, hey, drinks on me. I'm going to rack up $20,000. But what happens?
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah.
And we start getting careless. And
And as most people you and I talk to, life's kicked them in the teeth so many times that they're so upside down, they don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
And fires, right? When we don't live with any margin, everything that happens is a fire that we got to put out. And so then we don't just have a budgeting plan. A break in our budget, we have a break in our whole plan, and it can derail our whole life. And what do you usually turn to? You'll turn to a credit card, or you'll turn to cutting out restaurants in order to do this, right? Like we keep making these choices.
Yeah, and because also restaurants is another way to self-soothe.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying that's for everybody, but a lot of times we turn to that. We turn to sometimes junk food. Sometimes we've seen people turn to coping mechanisms. Sorry, I need some more water apparently. Wine, food, junk food, binge watching Netflix. And what we found is it's almost like this cycle where it's like one thing happens, leads to a next, leads to a next, leads to a next. All of a sudden they're demotivated, overwhelmed, in anxiety, stressed out. And do you think you're going to be successful in a state of overwhelm, anxiety, stress, and broke?
No.
But people end up in that cycle, and it's like, well, if I just mathematically get it together, it's going to work. And it's like, it's not about mathematics. It never is. It never was. I mean, we're doing some mathematical formulas to show what you can get.
Yeah.
But for this to happen, for you to be able to do this, that $4 million, a lot of habits, behaviors, a lot of lifestyles, a lot of mindset, a lot of limiting beliefs have to change in your mind for you to get this. Yeah. And so one of the things we do in the program, and one of the things, the first thing we get people to do, it's never about paying off debt first. The first thing we get people to do is we get money back in the bank. That's earmarked for the next time life decides to want to kick you in the teeth, to show up and, an emergency, you've now got margin so that you don't go back into debt. The best way to break the cycle is to stop borrowing. Yeah. But again, debt's been the most marketed product in our culture. Most marketed product in our culture, and we wonder why we think it's we can't get out. We wonder why we've given up. 40% of Canadians have given up. 60% of Americans feel like they'll be in debt for 5 years or longer. It doesn't have to be that way. So guys, what's it really costing you? What's the opportunity cost here? How much have you given to the banks already in interest payments, and how much longer are you going to continue to do that for? Because you can put those numbers in this calculator very easily. If you're 35 and you've had a track record of 10 to 12 years of being in debt, and you've had 10 to 12 years of never being debt free, or let's just say you're 45. I mean, we talk to a lot of people who are in mid 40s, early 50s, or, here, I'll use 50. You still got a good 15 years before retirement here. And if you can kick debt in the teeth once and for all, if you can do, again, the average person's doing about $1,000 a month just in interest payments, that doesn't even get them out of debt. But if we can take that and turn that around, that's $500,000 in 15 years. Hey, it's not $4 million, but it's still great.
It's better than nothing.
It's better than relying on social insecurity in Canada's poor performance plan.
Yeah.
You know, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's CPP. You know, like who wants to live off of that for the rest of their lives? You know, and it's like $1,500 a month, $750,000. And here's the best part, guys. I want to show you this because, again, most people, I don't think they understand this. At least this is my goal with retirement. Okay. When I get to retirement, my goal is not to spend $750,000. My goal is to make that $750,000 work for me year over year over year over year over year over year, so that I never have to use it, like never dig into it, but it provides an income for me so I can continue to live that life I want to live. So let's just say you're 65. I put 64 here. You know, I'm going to show you the 1 year difference on this. And let's just say, you know, maybe we don't aggressively go after 12 anymore. Maybe we hit 7, which is very doable, or even 8, you know, which is, let's just do 7. Because I feel like there's going to be a lot of arguments coming if I go any higher than that. Look at the growth down here. You could produce for yourself $54,000 in passive income for the rest of your life and never have to touch the initial balance of $749,000.
And that's leaving a legacy, my friends.
And then you pass it on to your, you know, you want to talk about the Rockefellers? This is how they do it. They pass it down from generation to generation to, I mean, they've done a lot more, but, you know, essentially generational wealth. They've got a bigger vision for their life than themselves. It's their kids, and they teach their kids how to manage wealth, and they teach their kids how to manage wealth, and they teach their kids how to manage wealth. Because if you never put another dime, and you had $749,000, and you never put another dime for the rest of your life, and instead you pass that down to the next generation, and to the next generation, to the next generation. So we look at this over 30 years, you know, 40 years. I'm just gonna put age 1 here so I can show the example. Over 40 years, you never touch that again, and we'll keep it at 7%, although average over 30 years is 12. So maybe I'll do 12, just to show you the average. Your kids and their grandkids will be exponentially rich and wealthy. And if they learn how to manage it well, they'll be able to do so much good in this world that most people can't do because they're broke. And what I figured out, the best way to help people out of poverty is to not be one of them in poverty, but to get out, build a lot of wealth, and then give it away and become radically generous. Radical generosity. $78 million in one generation. I don't know. Maybe I'm off my rocker here.
You're crazy.
Maybe I'm just crazy. But it's like, you want to break the spirit of poverty. You want to break, you know, poverty out of your life and out of your family's life for good. This is how you do it. Yeah. And again, and part of the conversation isn't this. The other part of the conversation is teaching them how to be good stewards of it. Yeah. And setting up different trusts and different, you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff about that we walk into in the program. But it's like teaching them to be good stewards of it. And this will pass on from generation to generation. You'll never have a broke person in your family again. So
exciting.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the funny thing. It's up to you. What do you want to do today? Do you want to begin this process, or do you want to stay stuck? Choice is 100% yours. But the good news is, in this day and age, in this culture, in this economy, this part of the world, there's no reason why anybody cannot become wealthy if you decide you want to be wealthy.
Yeah.
So hope that helps. Hope that helps. And, you know, so I'm sure some of those numbers just blow your mind. They used to blow my mind when I was in debt and trying to figure out, I'm like, what? $1 million? That's impossible. It's like, it's easy if you'll just get focused and do it the right way. So, Jen, could you, in a brief and like 60 seconds, share our process and our journey? How do we help people?
Yeah.
What's our process?
So we help people by helping them to get focused, get on that plan. Like Mike, you mentioned earlier, you know, starting with that savings, getting that savings established, right? And we walk with people and help them to figure out how to get that together, how to come up with that plan to get out of debt in such a short period of time, so that fully funded emergency fund and that investing can start to happen, so that these numbers aren't just a chat that we're having today, but they can actually become your reality. And the bonus of working with a coach is that we are looking at your numbers with you. We are taking into account your situation. We're helping to guide you. We're walking with you on that journey, so you're not alone. Because so often we feel alone. figuring this out, feeling stuck or embarrassed for our situation. There is none of that. There is no shame. There is nothing on the table. It is coming together to show you that there is a better way to do it. And there is hope for your situation. And if you're feeling hopeless, I can promise you, Mike and I, we have both been broke at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And we have worked this process, and it will work 100% of the time if you are willing to work it and do the work.
Yeah. People often get on the phone with me and they say, well, what's the guarantee, Mike? You guarantee this is going to work? And you're absolutely right. I guarantee 100% of the time this will work if you come in and do the work.
Yeah.
Follow the nuances. And 100% of the time it won't work if you do nothing.
Yeah.
If you want to sit on the couch and be a couch potato, it ain't going to work for you. And it's funny because I hired a fitness coach many years ago, and I tried to lose the same 20, 30 pounds for about 10 years. You know what I'm saying? Lost a bit, gained some, lost a bit, gained. It was this yo-yo for 10 years. I knew everything to do. I knew don't eat Big Macs, don't eat French fries, get to the gym, work out more, blah, 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 all that stuff. It took this coach 6 months to do what I try to do for 10 years. I tried to do it for 10 years. It took him 6 months to get to where I want to be. He didn't teach me anything new. I knew I should be eating Big Macs. I knew I had to get to the gym and lift more. What he did is he gave me all the little nuances, and he gave me the accountability that I needed. Yeah. It's like I was riding my bike yesterday. There's a big hill in my area that I ride up, and it's I call it it's like the leg crusher. It's just like when you're done, you're exhausted. It's like this, just going up. And I'm hustling. I'm riding up there. This old dude somehow comes from behind me, comes beside me, and blasts in front of me. This guy's probably, I'm in my 30s. This guy's easily in his white hair, in his 50s. And here I am pedaling super hard. And this guy's just he makes it look easy. And then he's way ahead of me. Well, guess what he did? He wasn't even my accountability partner, but because he got ahead of me, it made me work harder to get it, to try and keep up with him. He still left me in the dust.
6 car lengths.
Yeah. He still, I still ate his dust, but it was when you've got that second person looking at you and being able to give you a second opinion, be able to say, hey, let's do this, this, and this instead. It's all of a sudden, it's not easy. I don't want to say the process is easy because it's not easy, but it's simple.
No,
it's simple and it works every time. And so for those of you out there who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, for those of you who are holy crap, I've been dealing with this for 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30 years, book a call. I don't know if we can help you, and I'm not guaranteed we're even going to make you an offer. We turn down about 40% of everyone that hops on the call with us just because we can't help them. And so there's no guarantee we're even going to be able to help you, but let's hop on the call. Let's get you clarity. Okay, let's get you clarity around what's not working. That we can show you pretty fast. Let's take a look at where you want to go. Okay, let's take a look at what the future looks like if you got on this plan and if you were to be able to become debt-free in 24 months, if you were able to start saving for your kids' education or where they didn't have to go into debt, if you're able to get in a position where you got out a car, whatever it is, car payments or pay off the house. I mean, how cool is that? People don't talk about that much these days. That's possible too. And if we can help you, we'll show you how. If we can't, we'll tell you. We'll be the first ones to tell you that we can't help you. And we'll direct you to another resource. I mean, Jen, how many times have you done that in the last month?
Several.
Yeah, I've done it too. Probably about 4 to 10 people on the call. I can't help you. Go and check this out.
Yeah.
But if we can help you, we'll show you how. And we'll show you what that looks like. And we'll show you exactly how to get you moving forward so that the next 24 months, the next 48 months, you're living a life that you want to live, that you desire to live on purpose, in purpose. Make the second half of your life the best half of your life. So that's you. Yes, that's you. moneycoachmike.com/call. And one of us will be on the phone with you to help you walk through this here and get you moving forward, hands down. And with that being said, hopefully we've inspired you just a little that you can go and make this happen. So we love you guys. Smart Money Community, we're here to serve you. Keep posting your success stories in the group there. Keep posting. We're here to serve you, and we're always here to challenge you, and we're always here to show you that you can live a better life, and you can live life astronomically the way you want to live it if you'll get focused, get intentional, and start to work that plan.
Yep. So go have fun with numbers. Go figure it out. Get that fire started.
Get that fire started. All right, guys, and we'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your Wednesday.
See ya.